Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Screen Stealers and the Movie Bucket here on Screen Stealers. I hope you grab your popcorn, soft drink, maybe a soft pretzel. It's time to talk about another movie. I'm Brooke, and if I have to sing "Kumbaya" one more time,
I'm gonna go nuts. I'm gonna go nuts. I'm gonna go
or nuts,
corn nuts. There you go.
or
Nuts.
nuts.
There you go. Uh,
BBQ.
oh yeah, they have to be BBQ. Otherwise, I will not be eating them. Thank you very much. Um, Hola, I am Eduardo, and fuck me gently with a chainsaw.
I will later after this podcast. It's not
Yay!
not on camera. Not on camera.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that's
we'll get in
Patreon.
touch.
The Patreon we don't have.
Yeah. And hi, I'm River, and I am here because I want to know who the fuck is Heather.
Who the
Honey.
fuck is her?
Annie.
Well, I'm David, and my son's a homosexual, and I love him. I love my gay dead son.
I love my dead gay son.
Well, if you will, Mr. Upload this past Sunday, elaborating as to what our March Madness month was going to be about. Hope that intro gave you a little bit of a something. But if you want to check out the other little brackets that we did to decide what movies we talked about, that video is in the description down below. Link to that. But we're talking about the winner of Eduardo's bracket from the March Madness video today, Heathers from 1988.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yay.
We made such a great choice. I
Yeah.
love us for that.
I am so happy that this ended up being the movie that we watched because, as I said on the video, I had not watched this movie, but I had listened to the musical, and so I wanted to finally watch the actual movie, and I'm so glad we did. I'm so glad this ended up being the movie that we watched because, spoiler, it's such a fun movie. It's such a fun movie.
Well, yeah, like the header said, only Eduardo's first watch. Me, River, and David have all seen this before. But David, it's been a long time for you from what you
It
said
has.
in the bracket video.
Yeah, it has. I was like, this is kind of like a first watch. There's a lot I didn't remember.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh, and I
it's
had
really-
seen it like only once a couple years ago, and like I remember a lot of it because I watched it more recently, but because I only watched it once. And when I watched it the first time, I didn't really know what I was getting into because like I didn't know really the plot or kind of what happened. So I didn't know what to expect. And I must say, before we get into it, that I had a very a more pleasing second watch than the first one. It was more
Oh,
fun.
good.
It was more enjoyable. Yeah, it was very different.
I love that.
Yeah, I've seen this movie several times. I'll just go ahead and say that. Watched it for the first time in 2016 when I got obsessed with the musical, and then it kind of just every now and then you just get the urge to go watch Winona Ryder be Winona Ryder, and it just kind of keeps going. I've seen this movie at least 5 or 6 times. I haven't watched it in a few years though, so it was nice to get another watch in. Because I'm just gonna go ahead and bury the lead here. I also really like this movie, and it was really fun going back to it. But it is interesting that two of us are, from what I can tell, very familiar with the musical. And you two on the bottom, you got no point of reference for the musical.
No.
Yeah.
I do want to ask what came before? What was
The movie.
released?
The movie.
The movie. Okay.
Movie by a significant amount of time, like
Okay.
almost 30 years. I think the musical came out in 2015 with a question mark.
Fine.
So like a decent amount of time between the musical and the movie.
Mhm.
But the musical, let's just quickly discuss this and move on. So the musical came out, ran off Broadway, did a run in the West End that did really well, and it had like a pro shot. And then now it's back off Broadway, and still, from what I've been told, doing really well. So I'm glad to hear that. But on the subject of the movie, still just as fun as it was last time I watched it.
Yeah.
For me, it was like more fun. 'Cause I didn't when I watched the first time, I didn't know necessarily that it was like violent. It was something like a little. I don't know. I didn't know that we were gonna we saw. So I was a little like caught off guard the first time, and now like going in a second time and like knowing exactly what happened, I feel like I was able to enjoy it way more, and I was less like on edge because I'm like, okay, we're good. But I caught like so many more humorous moments. Like I don't remember it being this funny the first time that I watched it, and I don't know if it was like I was in a bad mood or something, but like this movie is hilarious. Like
Yeah, truly.
it's so quotable from our intro.
Yeah. I had, as I said, I knew of the show, and like I knew a lot of the quotes and a lot of what happened, so I wasn't surprised with what happened in the movie. But I was surprised by how funny it is, like you said, River. Like I wasn't expecting to be laughing as much as I was. Like when they pull out the sparkling water and they said, "Oh my God, they were gay!" Like I laughed so hard. I laughed so hard, and I guess that means I need to get my gay card revoked because I don't like sparkling water. So, guess no longer gay.
So let's just go ahead and get the easy stuff out of the way, just for me. First off, this movie to me, and I hadn't watched it in a while, so I'd kind of forgotten. This is very much the Mean Girls of the 80s to me, in that,
Oh yeah.
is this the best movie that came out of this ilk in the 80s? No, not even close. But is it the one that I think captures the time period really well? David, feel free to correct me on this if I'm wrong. That captures the time period really well, and has a lot of that like pop culture-ness of the 80s that kind of makes it feel like a little bit of a time capsule, and is also just really fucking funny. Yes. And that's one of the reasons I like it so much.
Yeah. I mean, I was 3 when this came out, so I don't remember the pop culture that well.
Okay.
But I do like that this kind of movie, it seems to come out like every 10 years or so, or every decade, because not like you say the Mean Girls of the 80s. I would go the Clueless of the 80s.
Yep.
Because we have that for the 90s, then Mean Girls, and then I would say for the 2000s or 2010s, it was Easy A. So you kind of get this like mean girl, cliquey high school movie that comes about ever so often. But what's interesting about this one, my takeaway was, oh, this didn't even need to be called Heathers, because the Heathers weren't as strong of a focus as I was expecting on this rewatch. I don't know about you all.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Like, I don't know what else you could call it,
Right.
but at the same time, when a movie's called Heathers, you would expect like the movie to be all about the Heathers, and it's not. It's all about Veronica and about her relationship with JD and how that relationship turns sour and how it becomes deadly. And I wasn't surprised because, as I said, I already knew the story, but it is surprising how much more you get out of the Heathers in the musical than you get in the actual movie. Because in the musical, you get to hear a lot more of like what they're thinking and how their brain processes stuff. And like specifically, I think of Heather McNamara, the one in yellow. She gets an entire full song when she tries to commit suicide, and it really explains everything that like is going through her mind and how she really is struggling. And like it opens you up to like, yes, she's a mean girl, and yes, she is like a bitch, but at the same time, she is still struggling with all the things that people are saying that Heather Chandler was going through when she actually really wasn't that much. What I will say about specifically Heather Chandler with Heathers the musical and Heathers the movie is that I do think we get to see a little bit more of the vulnerable side of Heather in the movie, because we see her spit on her own reflection, and there's very clearly like like she's clearly not happy with herself, and we don't really get to see that much in the musical. So I did like that from the movie, I will say.
Mhm.
I think if I stop to think about like what are the negatives for me in this movie, it would be uh the fact that for the Heathers, because we get to see a lot of Veronica and JD, right? But for all of the three Heathers, like I wish we got to see a little bit more from the characters and their motivation, like to get to know them a little bit more. And I feel like with the time of this movie and like they could have done that, but they I think because it's also a comedy, like they didn't feel like they needed to. And maybe it would take away from something that they were trying. I don't know. I don't know why they decided to not do that, but I feel like that's the one thing that I felt like was missing in a way. That could give the movie more layers, but I'm also like, does it need more layers? You know what I mean?
That's true.
It's really interesting to think about that because, again, coming from someone who did watch the musical first and has listened to that soundtrack through several times, watched many a slime tutorial, the girlies now. Like comparing the source material to the musical, there's a lot of differences, and I will say, and I did say it when we were picking the movie, I do think the musical is a better story, and I think it's a better narrative, and I think it is more cohesive. But I also think they had an extra 30 years to cook the musical, and if it wasn't a better narrative, what's the point? Because, like, Martha's barely a character in this movie, and she's extremely fleshed out in the musical. Like, her and Veronica are like childhood best friends, and that makes everything else feel for Veronica like even worse for her because she's being awful to her. Basically, they combined the Betty and Martha into one character, essentially, and it works really well. I like it. I think it works a lot better. And we get to hear more from Martha as to why she's why she thinks the way she thinks. We get to see more of basically everybody, and we get to hear more about their perspectives. They did a re-release of the musical a couple years ago where Heather Duke got a really great song called Never Shut Up Again, which is freaking incredible, right? Because really the entire movie is like the first part of the movie where Heather Chandler's treating her like crap, right? All we feel is like, oh, I kind of feel bad for her, even if she is like friends with this. And then suddenly it's just, oh, no one's keeping me down anymore. Now it's my turn. And we don't get a ton of it even, which is my biggest problem. I do think the amount of emphasis put on the characters to understand where their motivations are coming from, like River said, I agree. But on the flip side of that, Veronica and JD are some of the most developed characters in a teen movie I think I've ever seen. I think both of them get a ton of
so interesting.
Yeah. And they're both really interesting. Specifically JD, I get where the Tumblr girlies were coming from. I understand.
Yeah.
Don't roll your eyes at me, Eduardo.
Can I just add
that
I get
it.
For the first time I didn't notice, but something about watching it this time, I just noticed how much he reminds me of my ex. Both physically and in other ways, but also physically. It from some angles, I was just like, "Oh my god, oh my god!"
You were so triggered watching this movie.
So triggered.
See, but Christian Slater.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say Christian Slater was like a name I was really familiar with growing up because my sister had all of the teen magazines in the 90s, and Christian Slater was one of her favorites. But I didn't watch like a lot of movies with him until like later on, like as an adult, I started to see more of them. And I mean, he's definitely an attractive guy, but he's got this specific quality that like it's a specific brand of cute guy that looks like they're always like permanently mid sneeze. Like if you look at his face, he looks like he's like just halfway through a sneeze.
You know
it's
what?
in the
right.
eyes.
Yeah, you're right.
Can we talk about
a vibe? There's something about him.
Can we talk about how crazy it is that not only he brought a gun to school, okay, not great, but whatever. Times have changed very much on that regard as to like in the US, the culture around the idea of that. But not only he shot blanks at people. Like I'm call me crazy here, but I think even then you probably would have gotten expelled from school. I'm just saying, at least, if not worse. But this movie something I like about this movie is it doesn't try to be realistic, really, because Heather Chandler dies in like 2 seconds after drinking that drain cleaner. Like she would have had multiple minutes to call poison control and like vomit that up before she even suffered any major side effects outside of like some esophageal mess going on. But like again, this movie's not trying to be realistic. It's just trying to be funny and have a point, and I think it does a really good job at both of those things.
Yeah, it's really like, to me, like it's camp, but it's not camp in the same way as like Pink Flamingos. You know what I mean? To me, it reminded me of a lot of how I felt when I was watching The Craft, but and minus the witch stuff. Because it's a story about power, kind of, in a way, right? In the sense of like only one Heather, like only one survives, whatever. Like there can only be one Heather. In the same sense that like only one of the witches could be like the Grand High Witch, the most powerful, whatever. So in that very similar way, and also when you were talking about when Heather D became like the main Heather or whatever, it's very much I don't remember exact like verbatim the sentence, but it's about it's like when knowledge is not enough, the dream of the oppressed is to become the oppressor. So like in the sense of like hurt people, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like she took that shit for so long that the moment she had the opportunity to do the same thing to someone else and like take it out on someone else, she did. And a lot of people do that. So like in that sense, I think it's very realistic. And I think it's the most that we can see and get to know from her character is with that whole situation, I think, for Heather D.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, as you said, Brooke, it's not that realistic when it comes to some things, but like the characters and personalities that are in this movie, I've met people like these. I've met a lot of Heathers in my life. I've met a lot of Veronicas and 1 or 2 JDs. Like we've all
maybe not to the same extreme, right?
But, yeah, not to the same extreme, but yeah. I think it is very interesting that like it is somewhat of a critique on the high school kind of like culture hierarchy that we have and the hierarchy that like happens when you're there, and how like when you're a popular girl you become, well, I don't know why, at least in my experience, when you are around the popular girls, they're always mean and they're always like in a clique, and one of them is the high grand bitch and the other ones are just following her around, and there's always this one guy that wants to take them down. And it's, I don't know, it's very interesting of a critique. And I also really like the critique that we create with JD, because when he was talking about like we live in a society and so all of that, it very much reminded me of like a lot of people that like I met in my life that are we live in a society type of guys. And I think it's very cool to see the critique of how that can become dangerous and how that mentality can like lead to really dangerous things, not only like hurt your relationships with your partner and with your family and stuff like that, but also turn deadly and turn into something really, really dangerous. And so I think it's a very interesting movie with a lot of things to say and still saying it in a funny and like camp way, which I wasn't expecting really from this movie.
If you think about it though, like every guy in this movie is worse than every girl in this movie. Like if you
absolutely.
had to rank them all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like the dad, JD's dad, we get this like ominous like understory with him. Like he seems like
that's
a
what I was
chill,
gonna
like,
get
hey,
into.
how's it going, dad? Calling his son dad. But then when you find out like the backstory and everything he does and everything with JD's mom, it's like, wow, the guys are actually like pretty evil in this movie across the board.
Yeah. Like
That's what I was going to comment
sorry,
on is the relationship when the moment where we get the backstory, because we get introduced to JD's dad like a little bit earlier on, but then later on we get a moment where Veronica and JD are talking, and then he kind of implies that his mom committed suicide because it was like, she knew that my dad was going to blow up the building, and then she walked in. I'm like, okay. And so to me, what I read with that is that's one of the things that I didn't realize or think about the first time I watched is that maybe that's why he's so obsessed with suicide and like is putting that onto other people, you know what I mean? Because of his mom. And then also the moment, like seeing his dad and then knowing about his mom, that like, that was the only person that he loved and that loved him, whatever. And she committed suicide and he was left with his dad. And then he also resents his mom because she killed herself, I think, because she left him with an awful person. Yeah. And then it comes to like, spoiler, in the end of the movie when he's like trying to blow up the school, where he goes, yeah, maybe I am killing everyone because nobody loves me. And I'm like, yes, exactly. And that was like in 88. And then today, like with the whole history of school shootings in the US and all of that, it's just like, it makes sense. It's very realistic in that way. And it, like you said, Brooke, it does it it tells a real story, like it touches on real issues, but in a camp way and like in a funny way with great humor. I think it's kind of impressive, to be honest.
Yeah.
Something I really like about this movie is one, it has a decent amount of social commentary for a silly black comedy. Which is something that you don't normally get to see out of these like darker comedy movies, especially from the time period. A lot of them just didn't really have a bunch to say, and they were just trying to be dark and edgy to be funny. But no, I really like. There's this one exchange towards near the end of the movie where Veronica and JD are going after each other, and they both know it. And JD goes and tells Veronica's parents that she's suicidal, and there's this exchange she has with her parents where her mom says when teenagers complain about wanting to be treated like human beings, it's usually because they're being treated like human beings, right? And that gave me pause. Every time I watch this movie, it gives me pause, and I always have to kind of like reevaluate that, right? Do I agree with her? No, not at all. I think she's entirely in the wrong. But it is interesting to me, like that entire section of the movie is really interesting because, yeah, the kids in these movies are either treated like they need to immediately become an adult, right? Like when they're older, like that's just who they are, or they are like shoved into this like patronizing little box where they're like, "Oh, good job, pat." You know what I mean? And
it's either like infantilization or like they want to give like the response. They want you to have the responsibilities of an adult, but not the freedom. Like, okay.
Exactly. So having Veronica like just not even really respond to that, right? Like
I love her response, actually. It's one of my favorite things. She said, maybe I picked the wrong time to be a human being. That is so real. Mm-hmm. I feel that right now, to be quite with everything that's going on, but outside of this movie, I'm like, was it the best time to,
Yeah.
Anyway.
But we get to see her, like, we get to see Veronica just, like, as a character, right? Even when she is, like, friends with the Heathers, it's very clear she does not really like them. She doesn't want to be around them, really. And in the musical, we kind of understand that it's more for self-preservation, and that's why she even befriends them in the first place. Because in the musical,
that was me. I was Veronica in high school, not like that, but like what
I mean, Rivers JD, give us a phone call. We'll if you're alive, of course. If you didn't blow yourself.
And you know what? My ex's name starts with J, so I'll just
not
in the
fracking. Not fracking. Besides the point. But the musical opens with like a 7-minute number explaining like showing Veronica going from a nobody to being friends with the Heathers, which we don't see in the movie, which is actually another one of my problems with the movie, is it kind of just starts in the middle of everything after Veronica's like part of this group. And we get that moment outside the party where Heather's like, I made you. You were a Girl Scout cookie before you met me. Like that kind of energy. And I'm like, I wish we could have seen that. I wish we could have, even if it was just like a 30-second flashback or something, right? We don't get to see it. And I guess maybe it's because Winona Ryder was definitely like a bigger name than pretty much everyone else on this cast. I mean, I'm not sure if that was even true at the time, but that's just where we were at.
Pretty young, right? When did she start?
This is the year after Beetlejuice. So she's in her career at this point.
She was on the rise. Yeah. You know, one similarity, because like I already remember, like from the first time I was like, I saw the similarities with Mean Girls. Even the Africa joke, because right in the beginning they say, do they even have Thanksgiving in Africa? And it's very much like the if you're from Africa, why are you white joke. It's very parallel.
Yeah, it's very cool to see how some of the things from Heathers very clearly influenced Mean Girls and how we got from one place to the other.
Tina Fey will not admit to it,
she will not, but like it's fine, but like we know, and it's very obvious, and it's okay that like you took inspiration from this movie, because they're still two very different movies and they talk about different things and they critique different things, but it is very interesting to see like the movie that inspires a movie that has become such a like cultural icon and has become like incredibly popular in pop culture. It's very, very interesting.
And both became musicals.
Yeah.
And one is and one has a good musical and the other is Mean Girls.
You're so real for that. You are so real for that.
Okay, real talk. There is one singular good song in the Mean Girls musical. One.
Is it Regina George's song?
No, it's actually Karen's song "Sexy." But beside the point. Okay. Eduardo gets the joke. Which I actually do really like that song. Beside the
Sexy
point,
and World Burned are both very good songs.
They are both great. I just wanted to make the joke about Sexy. It has like 3 or 4 good numbers, but the actual musical is nowhere near as good as the movie.
Do they do Teenage Suicide Don't Do It in the Heathers musical?
No, but that's only because the song was only written as a 30-second ditty for the movie. They do an entire number at the party called Big Fun instead, which is supposed to be like a similar equivalent. And I will tell you, David, this musical is actually really damn good. It has a lot of really good songs.
How long
a lot
is
of the titles, it's 2-act. A lot of the music is taken straight from lines of dialogue in the movie. So like, I love my dead gay son. Our love is God. Let's see what else has a
where would kill the dinosaurs? No, that's still for
that's still Our Love is God. Let's see.
There's
that's pretty much it. Still.
They might not be in the titles, but there's a lot of like the lines in the actual songs of it. Like in the most popular song, which is Candy Store, they do like say, why are you pulling on my dick? Which I think is an iconic line from this movie. And it's so funny. And I knew that it wasn't going to happen, but like, I was still wishing for some reason that Heather Chandler would just start singing Candy Store. I wish, but it didn't. But
Candy Store's a good bop. I recommend listening to Candy Store. Beside the point, musical's great, but it is just the hard part for me is separating the fact that there are 2 versions of this story, and this is just to me the inferior version of this story. Which
there's 3 if you count the TV series.
Have not seen, cannot judge.
Doesn't count.
Have not seen, cannot judge.
Heard it's not great.
I have not heard a thing because I thought it
I
got
believe
canceled
you.
and never came out, and I found out just
It came
before this
out.
recording that it did. So I want to go ahead and touch on really quick the actors in this movie besides Winona Ryder, because I do think we've kind of talked about her, and Christian Slater. Shannen Doherty is someone I like
R.I.P.
enough, rest in peace.
Yes.
Because I was raised on Charmed. My mom was a big Charmed fan,
Hmm.
so knowing her from that was my perspective on her. Rest in peace again. But also, like, the rest of this cast isn't huge names, and I'm okay with that. Like, it doesn't really affect anything, but
Yeah.
it is interesting
There
to
was-
like. Okay.
There was one actor that I don't remember. I also didn't remember from the first time that I watched it. I was like, oh my god, that's Mr. Mosby, the actor that plays Mr. Mosby on the Sweet Life and Zack and Cody. He's the guy working at the school paper.
Oh,
I'm like, that's
Oh.
Mr. Mosby, the
oh,
pretzel.
yeah.
What?
He
I
is
live.
Mr.
Oh my god, that
Mosby.
is
live.
Mr. Mosby.
Yes.
That was his first film role.
That's crazy.
Aww. Note to self:
I love
if
it.
I ever have the chance to talk to Phil Lewis, ask him about Heathers. Okay. Well, that makes me happy. I didn't know that. I didn't even recognize him.
See?
Speaking of him, he was one of the few guys that I'm like, oh, he's actually being a good guy when he's like, hey, quit teasing her about whatever they said. And then he pulls her off to the side and he just delivers it even more cruelly. And I'm like, oh, you're actually a dick and you just wanted to be able to tell her first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's crazy how like fucking evil all of the men in this movie are. Literally all of them. Not even even Veronica's father isn't that great because like
He's just like,
He-
he's smoking a
he's
cigarette
just-
and making
He's a
jokes, and he's
fucking
just there.
idiot.
he's just
stupid.
there. He's just an absolute idiot, which is fine. Veronica tells it straight up to his face, which I appreciate a lot. I thought it's very funny. Why do I keep doing this? Because you're an idiot, Dad. I love that.
It reminded me so much of me and my dad in the sense of like we would always be like roasting each other like back to back, you know.
I love the Veronica come take a rest segments in this movie. Because I wish there was a third one because there's only two, and it was kind of bothering me that there's only two.
The rule of thirds. I'm like, I needed a third one.
Give me a
What?
third one, please.
Yeah.
But literally, if they would have changed that segment with JD and started it as a Veronica come take a rest segment, and then it evolves into what it turns into, I think that would have been fucking
Because
hysterical.
we needed one on the third, in the third act
Yeah.
for sure.
And they both kind of follow the same idea of like bit of a recap, a bit of a feelings check, remind you that her dad's an idiot, and then move on.
Yeah.
But they use some of the same dialogue. I wonder if they just reuse some of the same scenes, even because the mannerisms are really similar in a lot of them. But honestly, it works. It's not like I'm gonna pull a deep cut out here. I apologize. It's not like the end of Sleepaway Camp 3 when they literally just reuse 2 minutes worth of footage that you've already seen and put a filter on it and put a song over it in slow-mo. Like, if they are reusing footage, it's done for like a reasonable way. And if you haven't seen Sleepaway Camp 1, 2, or 3, go do that. Go watch those. We'll talk
You know
about
what
one
I
of them.
think it might be like intentional to kind of show that like he's tuned out in the sense of no matter what is happening, he's always the same. Like he doesn't care what's happening or notice what's happening in other people's lives. Like he's just like always the same and doesn't care, you know?
Yeah.
Either or.
Maybe.
I think it's just it's an interesting thought experiment at minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one thing about that I forgot to mention about JD is like the first time when they're like when he lets Heather get the wrong cup and like give the wrong drink to Heather, whatever. When he's like telling her to write the suicide note, when Veronica's like she realizes that like, wait, he's really good at this, and she asks, she's like, "Have you done this before?" And it cuts and he doesn't answer, and we go to like the next scene, whatever. But that's where kind of like and also when he brings up his mom's suicide, is where like they're kind of implying that it's something that is reoccurring. And also with the fact that he knows that he's always going to be moving because of his dad's work. He doesn't really have to worry about like people finding, like, I don't know. I just thought JD's character was so much more interesting on this second watch, because on the first one I was just like, fuck him. You know what I mean? Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And again, it just reminds me just how well the musical does the same thing, because we get multiple songs worth of development explaining JD's backstory, where we get to understand who he is, where he comes from, like, and where he is now. And I do kind of like that they drop the subtext that this is something he may have done before in his other towns, because in the musical, no, it's never even hinted at that I remember that he's done anything like this before. But I will say, if I'm Veronica, I might be a little bit more suspicious after we accidentally murder someone the first time. Maybe that's just me. Or like,
it was more her fault though.
Like,
or find like an encyclopedia to see if these bullets are actually real before you go and shoot someone with something that looks like an actual gun.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It took Veronica way too long to like tell JD to fuck off. Because like for me, the moment that like if I'm in her situation and I accidentally kill the most popular girl in my high school, and then my boyfriend tells me write a suicide note, I'm immediately like, you're weird. I don't like you. We're breaking up. I cannot deal with you anymore. So, yeah, I'm
who should go to prom with then?
Martha.
Probably.
I guess. Yeah.
Probably. Okay.
No, they rent new releases.
With this whole thing with JD and Veronica, like there is one thing that he said to her that I wrote down. I was looking for it in my notes. He said, you believed it because you wanted to believe it. And that's what I thought too. Like her first instinct told her like, no, but she chose to believe him. Like, what did he say? He said, you chose to believe it because your true feelings were too ugly for you to face or something like that. And it's like, yes, she actually wanted to do it. But like, I don't think she would have done it if he wouldn't have initiated or helped or whatever. Like, I don't think she would have actually done it by herself if he didn't come into her life and like help her do it, whatever. But I do feel like she actually he was the perfect excuse for her to be able to do it.
Yeah, and we see that when they kill Ram and Kurt, because Ram is already dead on the floor. And she's
after she realizes that it does kill, she still shoots.
She just checked the body. She is right next to it, and she's seeing that Ram is dead. He is not moving. He is not breathing. Yet when JD tells her to shoot Kurt, she still does it. She doesn't really hesitate that much. She just does it. So you are right. It does feel like she did want to do it. She just
and also he shot the other guy in the neck. Even if it was like a fake bullet, whatever, that doesn't kill. If you shoot someone in the neck, they're gonna stop fucking breathing. She had way too many chances to back away, and she didn't. She's.
Can I also just go ahead and say, if you're gonna have someone get shot in the neck in a movie, maybe have a little bit more blood. Maybe just a little bit.
Yeah, just
like
the tiniest.
It looked like somebody had crushed a berry on his neck and then like rubbed it down. And like that's about the amount of blood we had there. I'm not advocating for like a full gore sequence, but maybe a little bit more next time. That's
a tad more realistic.
Like we got way more blood when Veronica shot JD's finger off, and like
true,
it could have handled crazy.
Also love her for that.
Incredible accuracy.
It kind of just happens, right? Like there's no warning that it's about to happen. Just pop, and suddenly his middle finger.
She's nervous. A bomb is about to go off. Like I get it.
Right.
I get it. And he kind of raised his hand, like maybe she thought he was gonna like blow off the school, and then she just shot him. I'm like, yeah, it was so satisfying.
As she should. As she should.
One of my favorite lines in this entire movie is JD saying, "Football season is over. Kurt and Ram had nothing left to offer the school except date rapes and AIDS jokes." Which, one, saying that in the 80s, old. Secondly, like the amount of and Veronica doesn't respond to that at all, right? Like she's kind of like, well, I mean,
she agrees. She's like, "You're not
yeah.
wrong."
And that was where I
that's the
was kind
thing.
of at the point of like, okay, how far is Veronica willing to go? Right? Because clearly JD's willing to go to whatever length he wants. He will kill whoever he wants, whenever he wants, period.
Yeah.
And we've seen now that clearly Veronica has now murdered a person. Because you could argue that the first time she didn't know. Like she didn't know that he had given her
Genuinely, yeah.
at Heather Chandler's house. You could argue that. But she's murdered.
She still decided to write the note though, but like she didn't knowingly kill. Like she decided to go with the crime, but
I mean, cover it up, sure. I mean, murder cover up, it's illegal, but like not nearly as bad as intentionally shooting a person in the chest. Let me put it that way.
It's so easy to get away with murder in this town, by the way. Like no investigation.
Like when you see like the cops like smoking weed, and then he hears the second shot, and he's like, "No, I definitely heard something." It's like, and they're like pissed that they have to go. They're like, "Oh, okay, I guess we have to work."
Yeah, like this is the worst police force of any movie I think I've ever seen. Like they're really bad.
Again,
they're
very
realistically bad because like you would think there would be some type of investigation or something, and like. JD's and Veronica's
sparkling water, case closed.
Do we know? Like you all do realize how little, at least in the U.S. I'm not going to speak for every country here, but suicides just don't get researched here, like at all. Like they don't get investigated, like hardly at all. If they have any reason to suspect something is a suicide, about 9 times out of 10, that's just going to be the direction they go. And unless they find something that's like truly exculpatory that makes them have to go down another angle. That's pretty much it.
It's just easier.
And especially and also this is my biggest problem with this movie, and I think it really is important subtext. They never explain in this movie why is Veronica how did Veronica know how to magically forge notes from all of these people and know their handwriting? Like when did that come from? Right? Because in the musical, it is very early explained in literally opening number, right? That she started forging notes from teachers to get out of going to class and get out of having to go to like school things, right? So that's how she became good at it, was so that way she could be, because she's a loner at the beginning of the musical. She wants to stay hidden and have people leave her the hell alone, right? And then she helps the Heathers out in the hopes that they can keep people from bothering her. And that's how she becomes friends with the Heathers in the musical. Here it's just, can you forge this note? Can you forge this note? And it's never really explained where that comes from in this timeline, in this perspective of the story. And it is a bit of a whole of like, okay, well, if you can mimic these people's handwriting with no skill, really, like we don't see you learn how to do this in any capacity, why can't someone else mimic someone else's handwriting? Why are you so convinced that you are the only person that can do this? Because if you learn how to do it, chances are someone else could probably learn how to do it as quickly as you did.
Yeah.
And
like people
we saw
that work
JD
with like typography and like design and shit like that. Like if you train, like it's because it's muscle memory. So like it is very possible if it's something that like, because what I assumed is that for some reason, like Heather asked her to do something that required knowing her handwriting, like writing a school paper or something, you know what I mean? Like that had to look like it was Heather's, or I just assumed that it was something like that. And they didn't care enough to show us, like you said, Brooke, like the story about that. So I just assumed it was something like that. And it didn't really matter. But I would like to know, like I mentioned before, like more of backstory of every character.
Yeah.
In the musical, it's pretty simple. It's just the Heathers are late to class because Heather Duke is puking. Like that, the scene where Heather Duke is puking in the movie.
Oh, with
right?
the whole
that's part of the
disorder,
opening, right?
Plot.
Yeah. And they get caught by a teacher, and they're like, "Oh, well, we're helping her," but the teacher gives them detention anyway. And then Veronica hands the teacher a forged note that's like all 4 of them are out on like yearbook committee, and they have a hall pass and whatever. And they're like, "This is an excellent forgery," and then it just goes from there. But here it just kind of seems like, oh, okay, why is this part of her character, right? Like, why is that there? And why couldn't someone else do it? That's my real problem. It's not why is she able to do it. Why can't
JD
someone
could,
else?
right? Like he could.
Yeah, we saw
But-
JD do it, like when he
here's my
gives her
thing.
the note.
Right. He did it in the end. Like he did it for her, right? But
Mhm.
if he now I'm just thinking about this now. Because I'm like, okay, if they implied that he had done this before, then he would also know how to fake people's handwritings. So why couldn't he do it and Veronica had to do it for him? You know what I mean? Was it maybe just he could do it by himself, but he wanted her to do it so she would be part of it? You know, I'm like currently thinking this right now. Like,
Shower
I don't know.
thoughts.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know.
But-
When it comes to movie JD, I think it's possible. I think it's
Right,
definitely
like,
a
'cause I didn't see the
possibility.
musical, so like I'm talking about like just the movie.
Yeah. So when it comes to the movie, I do think it is very possible, and it is very possible. Like looking at
Because his
both
whole thing is like
JDs.
nobody loves me, so maybe he was just looking for a partner and someone to like, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's maybe like I really don't know. It's kind of complicated, really.
But like that's the thing. I wasn't thinking about that before, and now I'm like pondering. I'm like, interesting. But one thing that I wanted to bring up that I haven't yet that I have on my notes is one of my because we talked about how funny this movie is.
Mhm.
One of the funniest moments for me was Heather's funeral when everyone was like next to her body praying to God. Oh my God. Like each prayer was funnier. Like the guy asking like, please don't give me, I would never be able to handle suicide. Just get me into Harvard, please. I'm like, okay. And then the other guy, he said, dear God, why'd you have to kill such a hot snatch?
Oh, no. And the thing is,
Just kidding.
that's Ram. And that's Ram.
That's
too.
Ram.
Yeah, so like,
Yeah.
you go, and I love how people act in different. Like we see a lot, and it's actually one of my favorite parts of the movie too, because we get to see Heather McNamara, and she's like legitimately struggling with this, right? And we, from what we know of her, that's kind of surprising at this point in the movie. But then we get to Heather Duke, and I prayed for the death of Heather Chandler many times. And I felt bad every time I did it, but I kept doing it anyway. Now I know you understood everything. Like,
Yes.
Gag.
it's so
So
great.
good.
It's so. But the thing is, that's the most development we get for the Heathers in this movie is these little scenes where we see them like a little bit of their inner thoughts and a little bit of their inner monologue, but we don't really get a ton of development for them. And then I do think it is probably the weakest point of the movie, like we said earlier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You see, and right after the funeral, like when they're outside, and then Heather M is asking Veronica, like, "Oh, what are you doing tonight?" And this is where you see that like Veronica really doesn't give a fuck, like, because she says, "I don't know, morning, watching TV or something." Like,
Casually, I'm just gonna be mourning, watching TV. Just
and
I
then
don't
like
care.
they go on a
Doesn't
double
matter.
date, and like the casual SA is just like. Also, JD like just essaying Veronica like twice or 3 times or something, like after she dumps him, and then he's like when he's trying to get her back the first time, and then she's like no whatever, and he tries to kiss her, or no 3 times, yeah, when she breaks up with him, and then he tries to kiss her, and she runs out. Then again when Heather D tells her that he was the one doing like the whole petition thing, whatever. He tries again, and then she escapes again, and then in the boiler room when she's like trying to kill him, like he again essays her. Okay,
it's crazy. It's genuinely
wild.
crazy. Also, that double date was insane. It was crazy.
Okay. Can I say one
'Cause
quick thing
I
that really pissed me off?
Yeah.
People that think it's funny to mess with animals like that for no reason, the worst people to ever exist. Like
What I will say that I thought was funny about that scene was that Veronica specifically asked if they were going to be doing this, and Heather said, "No, we won't."
It happened before.
Immediate cut to both of them looking so disheveled, so tired, so like exhausted from this bullshit. Like this is literally like the worst that Heather McNamara ever looks in this whole movie. Like she commits suicide and she looks better then than she does when she's hanging out with Ram and Kurt. It's crazy. It's crazy, but it's so funny to me how just tired she looks. Like, God damn it, I didn't want this to happen.
Oof.
I thought that was so funny.
Well, David, I know you had mentioned to us before in the podcast that you weren't sure about how much you could really comment on. So I want to know, what are your general thoughts? I'm pretty curious.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy the film. It is a cult classic for sure. I don't know if it's my cult classic. Like, it's something I can watch ever so often, but it's not something that I would watch several times since 2016, like Brooke. But I think it's because I have other movies that kind of fill this position for me. Like Clueless is my Heathers. Like Clueless is an all-time favorite for me. I can go back to that as often as I want, but I still really enjoyed going through this rewatch. Even some of the problematic stuff on it didn't really offend me, even though like sometimes I'm like, I don't know if you're laughing with gay people or laughing at gay people. It feels a little bit more like the latter, but still, despite that, I still enjoyed it enough. And I'm looking forward to rewatching in another 15 years or so.
As you should do that.
About the gay people thing, just quickly, like the way that I saw it was that they were making fun of homophobes. Like, of how stupid it is to make those associations. You know what I mean? Like, how stupid it is to be bigoted.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I read. But I can see that there's, nuance.
Well, that's why I think the sparkling water thing is so funny, because it's so stupid and it's like,
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense. Why is like just carrying around a bottle of sparkling water immediately make you gay? I think it's supposed to be like so over the top and so stupid that it's funny. I do think that some of the things are like towing the line of homophobic and like there, but I do think it is more laughing at homophobes than laughing at like the gays, I think. But as I said, it kind of like toes the line a little bit.
It's something that like I would hear someone out if they had like a counter argument to that. I would be like, I would be sat and listening, because it's I feel like there is room for debate with that.
Right. For me, the biggest red flag is when it came out. Just because I know that was not a time that was especially friendly to gay people. Like, gay people weren't featured a lot in movies unless they were kind of the butt of a joke. So yeah, there were lots of lines, like even just people like casually calling each other the F slur, or somebody calling each other a cocksucker. It just, to me, it didn't always feel like in the spirit that it would be today. If somebody had something similar, I feel like it would be a little bit more, like you said, making fun of homophobes. And I think it was a little bit of both in this, making fun of homophobes, but also making fun of them because being gay is weird, And I'm not offended by it. I don't get offended by it almost. Like, it takes a lot.
I'm only offended if it's not funny. Like, if it's not funny, then I'm offended.
Right.
Just be funny. Like,
I mean, okay. I do think that this movie's kind of just, I'm gonna say it, I'm gonna be bold. I think this is a really good queer movie, and I know people may not agree with me on that. I honestly think the depiction of how this is portrayed in this movie is fucking amazing. And I know that it's a bit controversial, and I don't think everything about gay people in this movie is portrayed well, but specifically how they portray Kurt and Ram's entire circumstance by the end of this film is perfect. And like every little bit of it is perfect. Okay, stereotypical things a gay man would have, right? And they just load up this bag with gay stereotypes because that's gonna work. That's gonna be
because they know that homophobes will fall for it, and that's what homophobes believe that gay people are like.
And the second the cops pull out the damn mineral water, they get proven right. I mean, look, when anyone ever accused Ohio of being a gay capital of the world? No, not even then, not now. And they kind of just nail it. And even the funeral with the dad, not just saying, I love my son, I love my dead gay son. Right? Like,
with both of them, like with the football helmets on, like on the coffin, like with the football.
No, but then on top of that, JD says something I find to be fucking hysterical, where he says, I'm going to quote it verbatim here, okay, because I don't want to screw it up. Wonder how he'd react if his son had a limp wrist with a pulse. Right? And I know that's supposed to be a little bit like a moment, but like, no, I'm legitimately curious too, because this dad is like, he can't separate the idea of his son being gay, and he is now not just his son, he is his gay son, right? But because he doesn't want to say my gay son, he says my dead gay son, which is fucking hysterical, one. But two, it's actually just pretty damn good social commentary, and I can't even lie. Because like Heather Chandler gets this whole like, oh, I'm not just a dumb blonde arc with her suicide, like perception wise, is kind of what they want to portray it as. But no, it's just fucking funny. Like the entire thing with Kurt and Rand is fucking hysterical, but it's also really good commentary. And I think this movie kind of nails its commentary from top to bottom. I don't think it really.
I understand why, like, it's a cult classic. It's a queer like it. Why it's referenced on RuPaul's Drag Race. Like, I understand. And just like we mentioned on when we did The Craft, RIP to that video. RIP to that video. But I think it's debatable that there are like bi and gay characters and lesbian characters in this movie, like coded, not like canon, but like coded, queer coded.
Martha,
you know? But absolutely,
yeah.
I think honestly, Veronica, it's giving bi energy for me. It's giving bi energy.
Yeah. I do think that when it comes to these kinds of movies, when it's always like a female friend group, I don't know why. A lot of the times, I do tend to get a little bit of that queer energy, but maybe that's just me projecting and always looking for that queerness in spaces where maybe like there's nothing there. But I did also find myself like trying to find queerness in this movie and kind of like agreeing with you. Like I did see Veronica as like a little bit of a bi icon. I don't know why. There's nothing
the
in this movie
anger
that's
writing in that diary is bi coded. That is a bisexual woman. Yes. Anyway, to me. Oh, I had a point, but I forgot because I was paying attention to what you were saying. Fuck. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's fine.
Yeah. So I do believe we have gotten to a point that I would like to just go ahead and say. Does anyone have anything else further they would like to add? I have a feeling I'm about to get one more thing, but just in case, they're being pensive.
We'll see. Let's see.
Because I'm like, I know I had something that was, but it doesn't matter. Oh, there is one thing that I saw on my notes. It's when, because we didn't touch on that too much because you quickly mentioned it, and because I knew there was something missing. It wasn't what I was about to say to Eduardo, but it's something else. Martha, I thought that scene specifically where she when she had like the note on her chest and she would cross the street, and like in parallel it was Veronica like watching on TV like the whole school special that they did about suicide, and it was Veronica being like not enjoying or like critiquing the way that the school was dealing with everything that was happening, and kind of like making suicide look cool and whatever, and like being like the cool thing to do while that was happening.
Yeah,
because it's very that like that person, of course Martha already had like problems because she wouldn't do that if she was like 100% fine, you know what I mean, like just because it's cool. but it's someone like she wasn't thinking about that before the popular kids started doing it. It kind of it inspired her. It took something that already existed and gave it like a gateway to that. You know what I mean? Like maybe she would, instead of killing her, like trying to kill herself, she would start, I don't know, drinking or doing something less harmful than crossing the fucking street. You know?
Yeah, I actually think, what a way to
or
go.
not go.
Right.
Yeah, actually, she didn't. But
like
I do
trying to
think
kill
it's
yourself and surviving. Oh my god, my biggest fear. Horrible.
Yeah, but I think it's very interesting the way that we actually like this movie also critiques the exploitation of the suffering of others and how like a huge tragedy will become like huge news and people will try everything in their power to gain something out of a tragedy. Like how Heather Duke went to as many interviews as she possibly could just so that she could be in TV and talk about the suicide as much as she could. And we also see like how suicide becomes much less of like a thing to talk about and just like a decision that you can choose to make or not. Like the teacher literally tells Veronica, you know, suicide is one of the most important things that you have to choose to do at some point. And that is like a very weird thing to say, in my opinion, because it shouldn't be a decision. It should be like we should try to prevent you from ever getting to that point where you have to question whether you want to do it. So it's so interesting how all the quote unquote suicides that happen in this movie, like really desensitize people from like what suicide actually is and how horrible it is and how it just becomes like a natural thing for them.
And what it takes to get there, because it's not like something that just happens.
Because as I said, the teacher like talks about it like, yeah, it's a thing that happens. You just have to really think about it, whether you want to do it or not. It's not like, don't do it. There's other ways to heal. There's other ways to like find like better things to do. And like, this shouldn't be the way. It's not that. It's just, it's this like, it's a decision that you have to make whether you want to do it or not. So I think it's very, very interesting how we got there.
If she wrote the hit song, it would be Teenage Suicide. Think carefully before you decide whether or not you're going to do it.
Yeah, literally.
Maybe do it.
Because it's not, don't commit suicide. Because like, it's not, don't commit suicide. It's really think about it. And if in the end, you really think that it's the best answer, I will support you all the way. In fact, I will help you. Like, it really feels that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
one thing that I wanted that we didn't touch on that I wanted to quickly, because I'm like, I love that scene so much. When Veronica, when she got so pissed that JD was like doing the whole, what they were doing to other people, and he decided to do that to her, she was like, you know what? I'm going to show you. And then she like fake hangs herself. And then the whole scene where like he believes it and whatever is just like, he was like, I can't believe you actually did it. I loved you. Yeah, I came here to kill you, but like, I loved you. And then her mom walks in and she's like dead. And then she waits enough time to make her mom like actually believe she was dead until she's like wakes up and it's just.
Yeah, her mom starts giving a speech. I should have let you get the job at the mall, but I just didn't want you coming home late.
And also the parallel between the iconic bus scene in Mean Girls and then JD, spoiler, blowing himself up in the end. Like that scene is so good. And while she's just like smoking a cigarette and watching, I love it. I love it.
No, I also really like just how JD reacts to her still being alive. Like, I think it would have been really easy for him to be like, over the top, over dramatic about it, and being like, I thought that Luce was too Noose. Oh wait, Luce. Like, he doesn't really care. He doesn't acknowledge it. He's just like, oh, okay, she's alive, lovely, right? And she's got a freaking gun pointed at him. Like, at this point, he should be overreacting, but because he plays it so low key, it makes it kind of funny. Christian Slater does a really good job in this movie, and I think that's something we need to commend him for. So good job, Christian.
Well, you have to give him credit.
Because we talk about Winona Ryder, like, right,
Mother,
but he played a psychopath way too well. I'm like worried. I'm worried. I'm like, is he
Well,
okay?
he played it
Man.
so well that he fooled so many people into thinking that JD was hot and that people want to be with JD to this day. Like if you go to Tumblr, if you go to Wattpad, you will still find people writing fan fictions about dating JD. Like it's crazy.
I blame the musical for that too, because it's like it's
That is
Christian
true.
Slater, it's Ryan McCartan, it's Jeremy Jordan, all of these different men that have played JD over the years. They all have their own wave of fangirls.
But
So like,
also at
I
the
mean,
same
there's a reason
time,
Veronica did. Like, it's not just she wanted to do it. You know what? Like that helps too.
yeah.
When she's
But
like trying to escape, and she's like, I know I can't. I know he's bad for me. I know he's and she wants. It's very like toxic relationship, and like it was very felt.
Yeah.
To a different
that's
degree,
true.
but like very relatable.
That's true.
Yeah.
But what I will say, specifically talking about the musical and why I think that also, you said it, Brooke, definitely did help, like, JD become like the white boy of the month for a bunch of the girls in Tumblr and Wattpad and AO3. But also, like, I still
Shouts
don't
to
understand it because he sings "Meant to Be Mine," and that song like is so horrifying. If I encourage you to go listen to it because it's JD when he finds like is trying to go into Veronica's room and he's going into this psychotic rant and it's genuinely terrifying. Genuinely, like if that were to happen to you, you would be traumatized for the rest of your life because it's so scary.
yeah.
And like I still wouldn't understand why people would be like, yeah, he tried to murder me, but you know what? He's hot, so it's fine. I don't understand. I do not understand.
But the Tumblr girlies do it with all of these psychotic men. They are all like,
Yeah,
and I
you're
say
right.
girlies to mean both the gays and the girls here.
Yeah.
We'll do the thing where they go like, I can fix him. It's okay.
Mhm.
Like,
You can't
can
fix
you
I mean,
JD.
look
Oh.
at Delina. Come on, look at Delina in Chair. Like, oh my God, please. Okay, Brooke, you said girls and gays, and my brain remembered what I was gonna say to Eduardo when you mentioned to like when you were talking about okay, the trope of like gay men loving movies that have like a female friend group or like a strong female character or stuff like that. To me, like the way that I see it, that's just my interpretation. Because I remember my cousin, I was talking to him yesterday, and like he came to mind. I'm like, it's very that. When you're young and like in school as a gay boy, and you are rejected by the guys, the girls are there for you in a way that no one else is. It's kind of like, that relationship that the girls and the gays have always had since like school, like preschool. Because
Yeah.
I remember, because I was one of the girls and we had our gay, you know what I mean? And then also my cousin, that like we were like, he's 1 year older than me, and it was a time of like Glee, Gossip Girl, Vampire Diaries, and he loved all of that shit. I'm like, I see you. You're not, you don't admit, but like we know, and it's all good. But we never talked about it, like not even with my cousin or my friend. Like it was just like, at least for me, like I never made the gay men in my life like have to talk about that. I just knew, and with my energy, I just let them know that I knew and that it was fine, and it was just never brought up. So maybe it's that, like
Yeah, I think it's very
for people that
possible.
have that experience,
Yeah, I think it is very possible also that like since I did have that experience that I always try to find myself in these women that I also see as like the women that helped me grow and become like the queer man that I am now. So it is very possible that it is also that experience adding to
Or
like
it's like the mom,
why
like if it's like a strong female character, maybe it's like the mom that was always there for the gay kid.
yeah, for me it was my friends, so maybe that's why specifically with our female friend group I always try to find queerness in there. So who knows, but it's very interesting,
Maybe.
very interesting thought process. And
I'm so glad
thought
it
experiment.
came back to me. Now I'm like, I'm good. You can wrap up, Brooke. I'm good.
Now we can wrap up. Now we can
Well, I'm gonna one more thing, you all.
Please.
Yay!
My one more thing is pretty simple. I just want to give a special shout out to this movie kind of just not giving a fuck about what it is, right? I think a lot of movies trying to do something similar, especially in the time period, would have either leaned a lot more heavily into the comedies and made this movie a lot less dark and mature, or it would have leaned so heavy into the maturity that you would have lost a lot of the fun of this movie. This movie is freaking hilarious. It's really it strikes a really nice balance between both of those things. And it's just a really fun time, even if it is really mature and really dark. There you go. There's my one.
It's just a good time. It's just fun.
Yeah, it really is.
You know what? One thing that I love about this movie is that it touches on serious subjects, but it doesn't take itself too seriously at all.
That's true.
Love that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Heathers.
Well, divas, I believe we have arrived at the point of this program where we must discuss scores. So, Eduardo, you can go first, since it was your bracket.
Yes, it was my bracket. And as I said, I was very, very happy that this ended up being the decision that was made. I had genuinely such a fun time. I laughed. I really analyzed this movie. I had a lot of fun just experiencing this movie for the first time. And I am so grateful that this was the movie that we ended up picking for my bracket. I think there's a lot good about this movie. But I do agree with you, Brooke. The musical is better. And so therefore I cannot give it the 5 stars. But it is since I kind of mixed them both in taking into account the backstory from the musical into the movie and whatever, it does make it a little bit better. And therefore I did give it a 4.5. Because it's really
there
good.
You go. Riva?
Well, like I mentioned before, I watched it second time. This was my second time. When I watched the first time, I gave it a 3.5. And like I said, this time I enjoyed it a lot more. So my current score for this movie is 4 out of 5.
Well, there you go. 4 out of 5. David?
So something that I've done on Letterboxd over the years is any movie that I know that I've watched, I try to give a score to, even if it's been decades. But it's really validating when I go back, when I rewatch something and I go in to put my score and I'm like, oh, it's the same score that I put in there a while ago. And it was the same score, 3.5.
A fair take.
Yes.
So yeah, I did struggle a little bit to score, nothing crazy. I did debate between 3.5 and 4. I think a lot of that just comes to the fact that we don't get a ton of character development for some of the minor players in this, which I do think is really important. But I did end up erring a little bit more towards the 4. And I think that's gonna come from the fact that I think this movie is just really fun. I think it's fucking hysterical. And it is one of those movies, and I'm going to again say like Clueless, like Mean Girls, that is just infinitely quotable. You can grab so many lines from this movie. I mean, we did it in the intro, and we tried to, but we had an abundance of options this week for others to choose.
Did we even say the "You look like hell" and I just came from there?
I just came back.
I just came. Yes.
There's a ton of options. Of just really fun, snappy dialogue in this. We didn't even mention how very, and they say that
how very, and now I'm wondering if Very Delta is from that because she's like that's the very, maybe it is because she was a Heather.
80s, I don't know.
Very possible.
No, I mean in her season, she was a Heather, and so maybe.
It's possible.
Well, everybody, that does leave Heathers with an average score of exactly 4.0 because Eduardo and David cancel each other out. So there you go. Now, if you watched our selection video this past Sunday, you will know what's coming up next week. But as we like to give a little bit of a preamble for those of you who may not have seen that, River, it's coming out of your bracket. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what we're watching next week?
So next week, we will be watching, as chosen by y'all, Best in Show, a Christopher Guest movie with an incredible cast. It's one of my favorite comedies. I've seen this movie once and I fell in love with it like immediately, and it became one of my favorites like that one time that I saw it. So I am very happy to revisit. And I this was the last movie that I changed into my bracket because of the recent passing of Catherine O'Hara. I wanted to have my favorite Catherine O'Hara movie that is not a Christmas movie, because Home Alone. But so I decided to go with this one, and I am really excited.
Yeah. And I'm also really excited because I've not seen this, and apparently I should.
I want to know what y'all think so bad. Even David that has already seen it, and I know he likes it, but I'm just like, I want to know. I want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Also, side note, we are recording this on Catherine O'Hara's birthday, which is
R.I.P. Queen.
R.I.P.
And
Catherine
also
O'Hara.
shout out to her getting SAG Up Post Morton SAG Award. They did her right. Thank you. Correct. And I cried. I cried watching that. Seth Rogen was like reading the speech, and I was like, thank God it wasn't her husband or Eugene giving the speech, because I would have. Anyway.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here today, everybody. While you're here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You've already been here for a grand total of 75 minutes, so why not? And while we're on the subject, make sure to hit that notification bell. Like the video if you liked the video. But unfortunately, we have ran out of popcorn, finished our entire soda, and nobody ever gets more than one soft pretzel. So we will see you next week to talk about Best in Show, but we're going to get out of here, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.